Right. On my desk, what do I have on my desk in terms of books and music, I guess? A very old paperback copy of Saul Bellows Herzog. Um, the astute reader, if and when my next novel is published, thinks there is a similarity at times to this novel. That's correct. This volume has been read so many times. It's an extraordinary novel. It is one of the novels, along with James Salter's Light Years, that I give out or send to people or whatever, that is often not finished by other people, which I think is it's long, it's not full of a great deal of incident, and it is mainly about the prose. Um, I also have the selected poems of Ezra Pound. Ezra Pound, I have to say, Ezra Pound fascinates me. Um, uh, I'm not. He's one of those people you have to deal with. Is he both genius and deeply unpleasant man? And where do those things two meet? He might be, of all of those people, the most unpleasant and perhaps um, the least of the geniuses. If we think about, Wagner is obviously one of them, and the others. I can't think who. Van Morrison springs to mind. People suggest that he's not entirely a likable person, but he's um, a very great singer. Um, I also have who I think is the my favourite poet of the 20th century. Well, except my favourite poet of all time, Wallace Stevens. Is the collected poems. Uh, I just read him for fun. There is a interesting thing said by which actually, hold 1 second, if I have it, um, which I don't seem to. Um, no, there is a there is an essay by Helen Vendler, uh, who's I don't know, professor of poetry at Harvard or something, saying that there are greater poets than Wallace Stevens, but if she was to be a poet, she would be a poet like Wallace Stevens. Yes, I think that's probably true of me, but it's whether I believe there are greater poets than Wallace Stevens. Um, I think there are probably more accessible poets. There are probably poets that have written something, one or two things that maybe shine more brightly, but overall, um, he's also interesting in the sense that he came very late to poetry, or he didn't come late to poetry, but Harmonium was published in his first volume was published in his 40s, and then he went silent for another 10 years, and then published more and more and more, and of extreme beauty and philosophical insight and investigation of what it is to be a poet. It's so slightly poetry eating itself, but I think no less brilliant for that. Um, uh, I write a lot about Wallace Stevens in my new novel. That's not a plug; it's just the case. Um, so the other thing I have here is Zone, um, a novel published, beautifully published in England. It's a French novel. It's translated into English. A beautiful novel, beautifully published novel by a French writer called Matthias Enard. Forgive the pronunciation. I'm not going to overly Frenchify it. This, I think, um, is probably the most serious work of fiction ever written. Um, if you've heard of it, you've probably heard about its formal qualities, which is that it is 522 pages long, I think. 521 pages long, which is the amount of miles from Milan station to the Rome Central station. and it's entirely one sentence. Um, it's a difficult. It's in one of those. It's a difficult, formally difficult, but in terms of what it's trying to do, which is talk about the atrocities caused by human beings in the conflicts of the 20th century and the early 21st century. I don't think any novel gets closer to the heart of why seemingly ordinary people that have friendships and love lives and live ordinary lives commit terrible acts of torture. But it's published by Fitzcarraldo Editions there, and as I said, it is beautifully published. More poetry, that's quite rare. I mean, I try and read a lot of poetry. I find it very difficult because I don't have the headspace. There is too much white noise in life to clear a path to concentrate on poetry. This is the collected poems of W.B. Yeats. Harold Bloom says that Yeats is the greatest poet, the great modern poet of the English language, which is one of the reasons I'm reading him, but because I don't feel that. Interestingly, Bloom also loves Wallace Stevens deeply. I think he's the most important American poet of the 20th century. I do love the famous poems, but I don't quite get why he's regarded as that great. Beyond Eliot, beyond Stevens, beyond the other big names of 20th century poetry. So lots of poetry on my desk. There is here a very large annotated edition a critical edition of the Old Testament. The reason for this is my novel, not a plug again, it's not published yet, is a theological novel, and there is I needed this for reference, and it's just there open on Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. So I think it's quite apposite for YouTube. That's probably got to go off into its place next to a very large version of the New Testament, next to a Geneva Bible, which was the Bible Shakespeare read. And I, in fact, also have a Tyndale's Bible. Yes, so that's that. Quickly onto music. Or before you see that, here is a gold obsidian Mexican death mask, which I've got. You can't really see the gold in it. Maybe you can. Can't see that up there. No, where is it? I got that in Mexico last year. On my music, I have 2 box sets of Xenakis, or Xenakis, as a Greek friend of mine said. This is his chamber work. I also have over there his orchestral work. I'm a big fan of Xenakis. I particularly like the stuff that sounds like roadworks happening outside your house, along with string quartets. There's something kind of deep and primal about music that sounds like a construction site. Interestingly, it's still late 20th century, and there's still moments that are in thrall to Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, and it seems to come out of something else other than the Second Viennese School, which I have a little bit of a problem with. And finally, Barenboim's Tristan and Isolde, which I haven't yet listened to. In fact, it's not even I'm done. I just haven't found the time to listen to it properly. I've just listened through a couple of times to Furtwängler's Tristan and Isolde, which I love deeply, and I can't imagine anything is so wonderful. So I really need to spend time, otherwise I'll just be going, nah, that's no good. Um, and that is my desk at the moment. It will change, and other things will arrive. Um, yes, it's slightly highfalutin. It's not always like that, but I'm going to make no apologies. Of anything, I really suggest, if you're interested in difficult formal works and the most serious book, a work of fiction written ever, Zone by Matthias N.R. Fitzcarraldo Editions. Many thanks for paying attention.